So, it was a great opening this morning to have the team talking about the path to purchase, because that's where we're going to focus today. It is 9:30. Well, actually, it's 9:35. Sorry, we're a few minutes behind. We'll catch up. But if you recall, from what we've learned yesterday, the question remains, do you know how mobile is transforming your marketing? Or if I was in Boston, I would say marketing, right? Eric Zunsick gave us a challenge. He said to us, there's 4 ways that mobile is transforming marketing. It's creating immediacy. It's immersing our consumers. It's augmenting what they currently do. It's going from brand experiences to human experiences. And it's empowering people. That's our job. Help people be better, whatever it is they want to be. That's our role as marketers, is help them to do that. So, we are tackling the C-suite questions here at the ARF. Our focus has been, do our marketing dollars drive growth in sales? Well, do my mobile marketing dollars drive growth in sales? And that's what the focus of today is really going to be about. Yesterday, we spent time talking about mobile creative. Dr. Garcia talked about the learning we have about how brands are built in the brain. We heard from Peter Minium about 10 rules of improving digital creative. As well, yesterday we talked about mobile research quality with our friends from Qualtrics and M4. We talked about targeting with Oracle Data Cloud, and we talked about mobile apps. We're going to shift gears just a little bit. If you recall, we said yesterday there's 4 areas we want to focus on, and today we're going to focus on the other 2. We're going to focus on how do you maximize the ROI of your mobile marketing investment, especially within a cross-platform environment. Because I think, as we've seen already and will continue to see today, while mobile is a critical tool and a critical way to reach consumers, it's not the only way that consumers are getting information. So how do we understand how we can best leverage mobile and optimize the return for our businesses and drive growth? Second is that we'll understand, how is mobile reshaping the path to purchase? How are people, as we just saw from our friends at GfK and Facebook, how are they using and thinking about buying things, buying those experiences differently because they have that mobile device in hand wherever they are? So we will, over the rest of the day today, we will help going from help wanted to all of us becoming fearless leaders. And led by our fearless leaders, our speakers that we heard from yesterday and that we'll hear from today as well. We thank the nearly 40 folks who will be on this stage for sharing their wisdom, their insight, and helping us all get smarter faster. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about ROI. Because over the past year, we at the ARF have invested to understand how advertising works. And in addition to Manuel's learning on how brands are built in the brain and neural pathways to great creative, we also invested in understanding the cross-platform return on investment. And this started about 18 months, almost 2 years ago, where we brought together 40 industry leaders. We invested nearly $1 million worth of research and into understanding 3 different experiments: the ROI across platform, how the effect of creative across platform, and how we can better be doing mobile research and improving our quality. I'm going to focus right now on what we've learned about ROI. So, one of the first key insights was this: that if you invest across a range of media platforms, whether it be TV, print, digital, mobile, out of home, or cinema. By investing in more than one platform, you get a kicker effect. And it's pretty straightforward the reason why. People don't live within just one platform. They don't live and consume and get information only on TV, only on radio, only in print, only on their mobile devices. They live in a cross-platform world. So, the challenge is this. If you go from advertising on one platform to two platforms, it improves the ROI of your investment by 19%. The challenge is this. 60% of marketers are still only advertising on two platforms or less. We might look at it and say, yeah, it makes complete sense. If I'm on more platforms, I'm going to increase my ROI. But then you got to look and say, well, why aren't more people doing it? And that's what we're here to help to explain and how to get there. One of the things, in addition, is understanding the role and the interaction between quote-unquote traditional media like TV and quote-unquote new media like digital. So one of the additional things we learned is how do you marry how do you marry different media platforms? And it's interesting to note that when one layers on print, radio on top of a TV platform, yes, that does drive incrementality. But when you leverage digital on top of that TV investment, there's a kicker effect that can drive near a 60% increase in one's ROI. Now, you might look at it and say, okay, that's great. How do I get 60%? That's not my business. That's not my category. Well, when we break it down into different categories, we can see that, yes, it does make a difference to invest appropriately depending on the business and the category you're in. We talk about things that are probably more information intensive, such as auto, that do leverage TV more effectively in order to inform and educate. At the same time, though, we can't ignore the fact that digital and traditional still live together. And folks say, well, wait a minute, why do I need to be thinking about both digital and traditional? I know that millennials are where the growth is coming from. Why shouldn't I just be investing in digital? Well, actually, the difference in the effectiveness of an investment between reaching millennials and reaching a broader audience is nearly the same. Millennials are still on traditional media almost as much as the rest of the adult population. So let's dive a little bit deeper into digital. Again, we've seen how marketers are investing more and more in both desktop and in mobile. But the thing to consider is this: we cannot get carried away. One of the things we've learned from our friends at ComScore is that there is actually a point of not only diminishing returns, but also negative returns by having too much frequency. And it's possible for a consumer to be touched by an ad more than once a day on their device, and that actually turns them off your brand. And that's one of the challenges when we think about mobile, is that actually we can get too carried away with the immediacy and the instant connection that mobile allows us, and we can actually see that there's a greater risk sometimes of overdoing it on mobile. So this is one of the things we all need to come to grips with, is how do we get that right investment between that one-to-one connection on mobile with overdoing it. It's like that unwelcome house guest who stays a little too long. You don't want to be that house guest. And Erwin Efron would say many years ago, he said, don't get carried away. Frequency is kind of a media crabgrass. And that's what we have to be aware of when we're talking about how to invest properly in a mobile space. The thing to keep in mind is this, and this is again where we get to the challenge. Mobile is incredibly effective. One of the other things we've learned in our work over the past year is that mobile video compared to desktop video returns twice the investment. The payoff is 2 times greater in a mobile video than it is in desktop video. Okay, I get it. So the question becomes, what is that tipping point? And does it vary when we're talking about established brands or whether we're talking about new brands? And I think the interesting thing is this. There is a point where you're going to level off, whether you're a new brand, an established brand, or even when you're talking about desktop investment or mobile investment. There is a point of diminishing return, and there is a point actually of negative returns. So keep in mind this, spend smart across platforms to maximize your return. And to keep in mind this, it's not an either-or situation. What we've learned is that it doesn't make sense to rob Peter to pay Paul. Because, again, across different verticals and different categories, we want to make sure we maximize the return, depending on the category we're working in, and leveraging the media that is going to work best. Again, consumers don't live in silos. We shouldn't market in silos. So, in closing on this section, there's 4 things. 4 things that we can all do to take advantage of that kicker effect and make sure that we're investing smartly in mobile and across all media platforms. 1, invest in multiple platforms rather than shifting dollars from one to the next. Going from 1 to 2 platforms boosts that ROI by 19%. And if you can invest across all 5, on average, it will boost your ROI by more than 35%. That's an argument CFOs like. And that's an argument CFOs will say, okay, I get it. I'm going to go try that because if I can invest more and make more money by increasing my investment, that's good for my bottom line. Spend smart by adding back traditional media to your digital media investment to maximize your ROI. Again, take advantage of that kicker effect when you layer on digital on top of quote-unquote traditional media like television. And spend smart to reach millennials. Yes, that's where growth is going to come from. But don't expect it all to come out of digital. Again, millennials don't live in a silo any more than anybody else does in our country. So, to reach millennials, you leverage all the platforms available to you. And maximize the frequency of your investment. Again, as Erwin Efron said, frequency can be like crabgrass. And there's a point not only of diminishing returns, but negative returns. So get that balance right so that you're having a meaningful one-to-one conversation with consumers, and that will pay off in the end. So the opportunity as an industry, if we can figure out how we can reallocate our current 196, almost $200 billion in ad spending across these platforms more effectively, we have the opportunity to increase the impact of that spend by almost $31 billion. That's a significant increase in our ability to drive growth. Coming back to the C-suite questions, how are you driving growth? Reallocate across platforms, and that'll pay off for you in the end. So.